to the Warzone Amateur Hour Podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Warzone Amateur Hour Podcast. This is episode number 80, creeping closer toward 100 episodes, which I can only speak for myself when I say that's pretty incredible, but also alongside that, creeping now officially, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, month by month, closer to the release of Modern Warfare 2, which we established last week, now set for October 28th, 2022. That's where the extra twos I forgot about last week were from the year. But that said, hell of a week this week in the Warzone. After reloading Vanguard Season 3, we had yet again another little bit of a shakeup and some items we couldn't even fucking get to last week because it was so jam-packed. But before we unpack all of that, I will turn to the 10-inch Cowboy and ask you, Cowboy, the co-host of the Warzone Amateur Hour, how was your week in the aforementioned Warzone?
Well, thank you for that lively introduction. Really interesting that you remember the whole twos conversation, and that's one of the first things you wanted to bring up. Really interesting look into your psychology and where your mind goes. But other than that, the week was good. A lot of sweaty games, to be honest. I feel like it's just getting sweatier and sweatier. This week was new levels of sweaty. I mean, I feel like we say it every week, but this was out of control sweaty. So other than that, it was really good. And I don't know, I'm trying to think. I don't think I have any updates to my weaponry, but the week was great. How was your week in the Warzone Amateur Hour?
I mean, no new chapters there in the diary of the 10-inch Cowboys Warzone saga. No updates, no tweaks, no new guns you're trying out.
I don't really keep a diary like you. But what am I running? I'm running the Cooper Carbine, which everyone knows I love, and then the MP5, Cold War MP5 still, which I'm
Cold War or Modern Warfare?
I'm sorry, Modern Warfare. I think. Yeah, no, it's Modern Warfare for sure. Yeah, it's the old school one. So yeah, nothing's changed there. It's just been brutally sweaty, and I know you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I feel like there's an evolution of sweat here on Rebirth, and it's reaching like its final form, like, you know, early on, or for the most part, a long portion of time, it would be like, oh, that's a really sweaty team. You know, like they would stand out on the map. We'd kind of be like, okay, maybe we don't want to fuck with those guys yet or whatever. Now it seems like every team is at that level. Like it's the flip now. It's like, oh, this team kind of sucks. And it's like, yeah, let's go prey on them. Because for the most part, everyone else is bunny hopping and fucking sliding and slip sliding. And yeah, I'm part of this, I guess, problem here with the snapshot meta, but it's abusing me too. I think there is a third perk though on your third perk slot, or maybe first, that does negate the effects of a flash grenade or of a snapshot. But yeah, in terms of my week, very sweaty, but also we're getting wins every session, working as team, hitting new highs, hitting some incredible nade kills. Just my nade game is really locked and loaded. I feel like I'm having a blast with the Semtex. But yeah, that was my week.
Interesting. So have you tried out the frag grenades at all? Because I know the last time we talked, those got a crazy buff that we wanted to investigate. Any news there?
I have not equipped those to a loadout, but I am making more of an effort to pick them up and lob them into buildings. But nothing notable has come of that yet.
I think I've had a couple of downs with the frag grenades, just like lobbing them down like stairways and stuff, and sometimes you get lucky and you just hit them. But yeah, no, I haven't equipped those either. I'm still in the Semtex train.
Right on, yeah. And in terms of stuff we didn't get to last week, let's just dive into it, because the Reloaded was so full of reloading that some stuff fell to the ground and then we didn't see it. And that was this whole new fucking transit system that they introduced to Caldera. Like when they added a train, or what is it? Sorry, the subway system to Verdansk. I think we dedicated damn near a whole episode to that. Whereas this, we're like, oh yeah, by the way. So yeah, it's a new fast travel system with 14 access points indicated on the TAC map and mini map by silver vault door symbols. They said a lighting system will provide intel and help navigate player decisions. So clearly they kind of took the old concept of the subway system from Verdansk and I think addressed some of the issues with it, which was you would get on sometimes and end up in the gas dying. You had to kind of like orient yourself, look at your map. It was like you were in fucking New York. You just got off, you just immigrated here. You're looking up the map upside down trying to figure out which way to go. That's the way the Verdansk system was, but this new system has a series of lights. Have you used the new system? Do you have any experience with this new transit system on Caldera?
Hey, I'm walking here. No, I haven't used it yet. But what I want to ask, and maybe this is a stupid fucking question that I'm going to just get reamed about, and maybe you could put me in my place, but when did underground transit become a thing? Because, and I'm sure it was probably before the 1940s and like World War II, which I'm assuming Caldera is like, it's the Pacific Theater, the 30s, 40s area, right? When did underground transit begin? Because it seems, and I know we don't like to dive too deep into like the realistic nature of the game, but this is an island in the middle of the South Pacific. It just seems not like a likely place where there's a complex underground transit system, especially during that era of time. So I just want to point out that it's a little fucking stupid from like a logic standpoint. So I'll leave it at that. But I don't know, when were underground transit systems, established? Because I mean, I'm from California. We don't really have great underground transit systems. The only one I think that I know of is really in San Francisco and now LA, but the Los Angeles one that's the different ball game. But like Chicago's transit system, I'm pretty sure is above ground. And I'm trying to think about when that was built, and maybe I'm getting wildly off topic here, but do you have any thoughts on that?
Wow. Well, quite a tangent here we'll be diving into, which is the history of underground transit. And according to Wikipedia, there were underground kind of railways and lines as early as the 1800s, but they said the first urban underground railway was the Metropolitan Railway, which began operations in January 10th of 1863.
What city?
And the electric, I don't know, let's see, Metropolitan Railway. Looks like London. Yeah, London.
Okay. Okay. Maybe I'm off there then. Fine. It just seems bizarre to me.
Well, this isn't the Underground Transit Amateur Hour. This is a Warzone Amateur Hour. So let's redirect it back to this new system. In terms of, this lighting system they referred to, when you show up, there'll be different kind of routes that you can hop on, and they'll have lights displayed, or they might not actually. And the way it works is if you see a green light, that means that destination is available. It's not in the gas, and there's no players nearby. If you see it's yellow, that area is free of players, but gas has engulfed it. If you see red, that means players or, I guess, equipment, which I'm not sure, maybe claymores or something, are in the area. And then if the lights are off, you just simply can't take that route. So again, I'll ask, have you used the system? Are you familiar with it, or you haven't done this thing yet?
I haven't done it yet. Haven't hit Caldera in the last week. What about you?
I did do Caldera a few times, but didn't think to use the system. It just had, again, like so much was going on to check out. It completely went over my head. I was checking out those speed tokens running around like a fucking Sonic the Hedgehog on Caldera. Too busy to hop down the chutes and get on the transit system, but I'll probably try and check it out.
How are those speed tokens? Do you feel them?
You definitely feel them. Like, they're, for Sweat Lords, they're kind of insane. And the thing is, you actually, which was interesting, is it's not something you pick up and you choose when you equip. As soon as you touch that thing, it's like you got the gold star in fucking Mario. You got to make use of it right away. But yeah, pretty wild.
Are they in crates, or are they just randomly laid about?
I'm 90% sure in crates, although maybe they're randomly laid about, but I feel like I'm finding them in crates. But maybe.
Yeah, because it's like, what do you, like, you're just looting, and then you find one of those things. What do you just loot faster? It's not like, it just seems kind of like a weird thing,
Yeah.
Like, what is the intention of it? That would be great in a battle, but like, if you can't choose when you pop it and you just pick it up off the ground, like, what are the odds that you're near a skirmish.
That's a good point, and I agree with you. Like, they're not predictable or kind of know where they're at to really make use of them. I'm with you. Like, maybe you get lucky and you're in the middle of a gunfight maybe and you find it and you can get out of there faster, but in terms of like offensively, I don't know. It's a little too random. I don't think they really need to be in there, but they're whatever. I'm glad they're not on Rebirth. I'll say that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that would be out of control. Just sprinting or doing laps around the island.
Yes. So that was the update in terms of Vanguard Season 3 Reloaded that we didn't hit. But in terms of an update we were unable to share because it hadn't been revealed yet, there is some new information about Modern Warfare 2. We talked about how when they first teased or released like the image or some imagery for Modern Warfare 2, people had just seen like a 0608, and they figured, oh, that could mean June 8th or, deciphering things. Well, sure enough, those little bastards, deciphering that shit were right. Modern Warfare 2 confirmed this week with a little teaser that the worldwide reveal is going to be coming on June 8th. That is only a few days after the release of this episode. So get ready. We'll be retweeting that link and obviously diving into all of it next week. But exciting stuff. Going to get our first look here at the future of Warzone, essentially, and Modern Warfare. How you feeling about this?
I'm curious. I'm sure as you are as well, as everyone is out there. I'm trying to think back when we got like the teaser for Caldera, and I'm trying to remember what that was like and like what my expectations.
Or you mean like Vanguard or Black Ops? Or are you talking Caldera?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Vanguard. Yeah, Vanguard. Which I mean, I guess was Caldera, Vanguard. I don't know. Caldera was the big set piece, obviously, of Vanguard. So yeah, I guess I'm curious to see like what it is we're working with here. I mean, I guess I'm excited about it. I'm also leaving your boy, the 10-inch Cowboy, has an international vacation destination situation where I'm leaving on June 8th. So I'm not sure if I'm going to even get a chance to peek it. I might have to be across the pond when I take a peek at it, which will add a new level of significance. But yeah, it's June 8th, you said, right?
Yes, indeed. June 8th.
So yeah, I mean, I'll be seeing that one internationally. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, we'll certainly be discussing. I know I'll definitely go on YouTube and find these videos where they kind of analyze every frame because there's all sorts of stuff that they won't explicitly kind of draw attention to. But if you look closely, they'll spot like, oh, look, there's a new reloading mechanic, or like, oh, look, the fucking silencers look something, or there's like a flash of the, weapon building screen, and they can confirm that it's 5 attachments, which please, for the love of fucking God, do that. But yeah, exciting stuff.
What if it's more? What if it's more?
No,
what if it's 15
no,
attachments?
No,
think about it. I want you to think about it. Go there mentally. Yes. How many? 15, 12? A baker's dozen? I don't know. I think they could be going in that direction. Just throwing it out there.
Wow. Pretty nightmarish stuff to think about there by the Cowboy. But that said, I'm going to stick to the positivity. Excited for this, sharing the info. I know the community's hyped. Infinity Ward, that's like the top dogs there in terms of COD developers. So
break this down for me for the amateurs here. Infinity Ward is one of the developers of Call of Duty, and are there multiple? Is that what you're saying? And they're like one of the higher, better, more respected ones?
I mean, I personally, think so. But yes, the development of Call of Duty standalone games rotates, as we saw. It was Treyarch, I think, or maybe it was Raven, did Black Ops, and then we had most recently Sledgehammer, did Vanguard. Now we go back around to Infinity Ward. That's why when you fire up Warzone, you see that little beep, that's like the Infinity Ward logo. So they built that engine. Now they're coming back around here, It's like, it's exciting times here. And like the community's excited. There's a lot riding on this, though. Like with great power comes great responsibility, comes great pressure to deliver here. This is going to be our only Call of Duty for the next 2 years outside of the new Warzone. So fucking June 8th they're peeling back the curtain on some big stuff.
What are you expecting to see? Are we talking about like a trailer? Is there like a gameplay? Really? Like, wait, did I miss something? What is being released? Is it just a video?
The worldwide reveal, like they're going to reveal the game, which I imagine will, yes, be a very polished trailer that will maybe have some cinematics in there. But I mean, go look at like the original Warzone trailer. It's almost like a trailer shot in the Warzone game engine. So I think they'll be definitely showing us some firsthand footage of like, maybe there's a new UI. Obviously, there's going to be updated graphics. We're going to get to see some of the guns too. That's the other thing. People can kind of identify by just seeing, like, we might see the M13, baby, the new M13.
Is there a new M13 or is that just a hope you have?
Well, I think it's going back to Modern Warfare.
So no information's been released, right? So you don't know that. No one knows.
Yeah, but it's a Modern Warfare game, and like the bread and butter kind of guns, like the original Modern Warfare, the M13 was in that. Similar to like the M4A1, the AK. There's just certain guns that are kind of like granddaddies.
Staples, yeah.
So I got to imagine they'll be in there. But again, that's all this shit. There's going to be a lot to stuff to dive into because right now it's all just, there's fucking blackout,
Yeah. Sounds exciting. No, I'm stoked. Okay, so that makes sense. Are we talking like is it like a special where they do like they're like the CEO and the lead designer are sitting down and they're like, let's take a peek at the new game, and then they like watch the video together and then they discuss it and it's really cheesy and shitty and you really only care about what you see? Is it one of those situations?
I don't believe so. I think that's more in line with what'll probably happen later on this summer, which is like where we get our first hands-on kind of demo about one of the developers, playing the game, dropping into a match, giving you like a live gameplay footage.
Yeah,
that's usually presented. They said, I think it's 10 a.m. Pacific time. 10 a.m. Pacific time on June 8th is when this is dropping. So I'd imagine it's just gonna be like a YouTube link type of thing. It goes live. I'm sure they'll have some, cool music and it'll be all cut, all snazzy, and it'll be the full fucking thing. Like, it's a worldwide reveal of the new Modern Warfare. That's pretty much all you need to say.
Yeah, and this isn't Warzone 2. This is just the new Modern Warfare.
Well, this is the engine with which will bring forth thy new Warzone.
Yes, but we're not going to be seeing any, POIs, map outlines, anything like that.
I don't believe so. Yeah, that's a whole new can of worms that we'll obviously be tracking as we get closer to that. But this is the next milestone.
Cool. Exciting.
But in terms of, updates and new content, there was, as is tradition, a weekly patch here on June 2nd issued by Raven for Warzone, and it actually brought some kind of surprising updates here. The first thing is some interesting changes. The recon drone was removed from the underground transit system loot, I guess because it'd be too hard to fly it out of there or something, and it was pointless. Not really sure about that, or there's some way that people are abusing it. I don't know. And they reduced the spawn rate of the radar jammer field upgrade on Rebirth, which we talked about last week was an issue I've been playing since this patch. They still seem pretty goddamn prevalent.
Yes, to be honest, I was trying to read the notes that were a little small, so I didn't really take away a lot from what you said. So I'm going to kick it back to you. What are your thoughts?
The radar jammer, I think, is a nice idea, but way too prevalent still after this. And what I had said is they said in the patch notes they reduced the prevalence of it on Rebirth. Have you noticed any difference?
I don't think I have noticed a difference. It's still pretty prevalent. And I think they last too long and their radius is too large. They need to just tone it down generally. It's a quantity thing. It's a impact situation. Like, they need to just tone it down a lot more. And what happens is that they really are effective late game, obviously. Like, if the circle is closing, you can't even fucking tell where the circle's going, essentially, when it jams the radar that heavily. So, I mean, I still think it needs to be nerfed a little bit. What do you think?
Well, no, I'm right there with you. Like, it's kind of wild how debilitating it is. Not even your minimap, it seems like. Like, you look around, you don't see icons. Like, you could have a fucking loadout right next door, and you wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
You gotta have your, like, teammates spotting for you and shit when they're dead. And yeah, it's just way too frequent, man.
Yeah. And they last too long.
So, I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm glad those have kind of been scaled back a bit, but not noticeable. They could definitely drop them back a bit more. But in terms of other updates, they made some tweaks here. Serpentine had the description text better represent the behavior of damage reduction. I haven't read that, so not sure how it clarified. But Restock, which your boy now, I don't even really run on Rebirth Overkill anymore as my first loadout. I skipped that because the ground loot, the SMG meta, which I guess we can talk about, is like really balanced right now, and the ground loot versions are great on Rebirth. So I've just been rolling with restock, but that received a slight nerf in these patch notes. So the timer used to be like longer, and then they really shortened it to 25 seconds. Well, they just nerfed that, increased it a bit more by 5 seconds. So now the time it takes to restock, which is separate from stims, I believe take even longer, but it's 30 seconds now to, let's say, restock your snapshots or your Semtex is in the case of Tron.
I think that this is a good move. It's pretty out of hand. I mean, still though, if you have a quad that's running restock, that 5 second difference isn't going to make too big of a difference. You know, it helps, but it's still like 30 seconds up from 25 it's kind of minor. I think if it was 45 seconds, that would be more significant.
Where do you stand on restock? Have you been running it much at all? I mean, I feel like you'll get it, but I don't know, do you see you using it a lot?
Well, we like to do the get the specialist tokens on Rebirth there. And when I get those and I have restock, I will go right to the snapshot grenade. 100%. It's too effective. Having those is a great hack. I mean, it's not something, because I prefer, to be honest, if like one of us has those, I don't think all of us in the group need them. I would prefer to start with overkill and have the loadout I want. And then if I get a perk on a second loadout, I'm going to high alert because I like to know where I'm getting looked at. That's more beneficial to me.
Interesting. I've come to realize in the process of really running this exclusively that I love it. Like, it's right up my alley. I have this weird hoarder mentality in these games, Call of Duty specifically, where it's like, I hate the idea of running out of ammo, and I hate the idea of running out of equipment, and I like to just have as much of that shit. That's why I told you I used to always run Scavenger in the standalone, which when Modern Warfare 2 comes out, I bet I'll be fucking running Scavenger again. And so, like, when I have the ability to just unleash a massive amount of ammo with not having to worry, like, it just frees my soul, and I unload all over the map. And same for equipment now with having restock. Like, when I know I can just be like, oh, there's a guy over there. Yeah, I might as well throw a fucking Semtex that way. Or like, all right, we're getting pushed. Oh, let me just spam these fuckers because I'm going to have more of them coming in 30 seconds. It's like pretty cool. I think of all the perks I've used so far in Warzone, I'm getting the most fun from this. And I think it's really been helping. Like, I know a ton of our wins. It's just awesome knowing, like, what we were like, oh, there's one player left. I threw one in a general area. Boom. Oh, there he is. Boom. Game over. It's kind of OP. I agree. The snapshot with it. It's kind of wild that nobody discovered this, like, earlier, but I guess maybe the restock had been nerfed prior. But either way, I'm a kind of a restock bro right now.
Yeah, you love it. I can tell. But it's really nice to have somebody in the group that has that. I mean, it really helps our games when you're, constantly tossing the snapshots. It's something that I haven't taken for granted yet, and I like it a lot. So I'm supportive of your interests.
That's a good point about it helping the team. Like, when you think about every piece of equipment available, I think you could argue the snapshot is the most team, like, assisting item you have, because a heartbeat is in a way, but you have to relay that information to the team. You have to kind of let them know. Whereas, stuns too, you have to say hit and kind of know where someone is. Whereas, like, the snapshot, I was finding, like, we were bunkered up in living quarters, and one of our teammates was running around down the hill, and I would just toss one down the hill, kind of giving him that intel. It didn't really do anything for me, and I remember he was like, oh, thanks for that. That was helpful. He could see where the fucking guy was in his building. So that's kind of an interesting thought.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to be, we've talked about, like, roles on teams. If you're trying to be the team player and, like, the intel guy, this is no question the best perk you can have.
Well, that's Tron, baby. All right. But additionally,
you're such a loser.
one other nerf to not a perk but equipment came during these patch notes, and that was to throwing knives, which I discovered sadly. We had talked about, they said, throwing knives now deal a guaranteed down from the upper torso. It's over. You down someone. And so look at me. I'm in a one-on-one situation, not one-on-one, but there's a guy in my building in headquarters below me. I have no plates, and I find a throwing knife. So I just had it cocked. I wait for the guy to come up the stairs. I launch it. I hit him dead in the goddamn chest between the tits. and he just gets cracked. And then I get murked, and I was like, what the fuck is this? So this explains that they nerfed the upper torso damage was actually decreased. It used to be 300, which again, with the new TTK, that is a fully plated individual, is 300 damage. That was nerfed, though, down to 200, so that's clearly why it didn't work. So they kind of saw, they buffed, I think, the throwing knives a bit more. How do you feel about this?
I'm glad that they do this because the people that use the throwing knives are the best players in the game. The people that are next level and usually shit all over me are using these. So to give them even more of an advantage, using a throwing knife as your lethal is a totally different mindset. You're either like a grenade guy or you're a knife guy, right? You're either throwing Semtex, grenades, thermites, or you're throwing fucking knives. But the knives, it's a different mentality. They're used post down, right? So, or I mean, if you're a total savage, you're using them in the middle of a fight. So to give an advantage to the better players, I think it's smart that they walked this back. I was getting knifed a lot, and it had happened where I was getting down from knives, and it was like, what in the fuck? What am I supposed to do here? So I'm happy that this has happened, and I even think they should take knives down a little bit more because I hate them.
Wow. Well, I mean, I'm with you. Like, there's definitely a differentiated kind of purpose between the two, whereas, you know, grenades are used to get the down, whereas knives are just a pure, clean way to finish the down. No need to use a bullet. Kill them, collect them, keep moving on. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think, like, this blurred, when they buffed it, it blurred the line a little too much in terms of, like, what's the function of this? This thing now does it all. You can not only, you know, finish your down, you can just fucking instantly down someone with them. So I agree. I think it's a nice thing to scale back. I hope if you do hit a headshot, it downs them, because I think that's pretty badass. You throw a knife at someone's face. And I assume so. But yeah, that was it in terms of kind of equipment and perk nerfs and buffs, which they did take a little look at here this week.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we're on the same page there.
But with that said, you mentioned we've been doing the old bioweapons key card unlock specialist kind of Easter egg on the reg. Been doing it quite a bit. It seems the popularity of that's really died down. So if you're out there, check it out. With certain circles where kind of it's really central, and like both bio and stronghold find themselves pretty much on the edge of circle, does seems to be the best time to do it. But that said, it's really given me kind of a, you know, a little bit of a dance, I would say, with each of these perks to kind of refresh my memory. And I talked about Tracker, and I think this week I'm ready to go ahead and use Tracker as my perk 3, because it is a pretty awesome perk on Rebirth, with the way, just the nature of Rebirth and seeing those footsteps I found.
Yeah, it really helps on Rebirth. It's funny how having Specialist really makes you aware of what perks that you enjoy. You know what I mean? Like, it really like brings the best perks to light. The Tempereds, you know, the Serpentine also, as I've noticed, to be pretty effective as well. But yeah, like the Tempereds, the Serpentines, the one that you just said, a couple other ones I can't think of because my brain isn't working, but there's a few of them that are fantastic that like you kind of realize these are the ones.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, these are the ones that are making a difference that I'm really noticing take effect while I have this specialist. But yeah, so I'll report back on that. Where are you all at, the community? Where are you in terms of perk slot 1? I mean, shit, even 2 now with, you know, restock, and 3. So curious to hear. That's the other thing about with Modern Warfare, is they could completely overlay like the way these perks work. They could move, you know, overkill to a different slot, kind of build it out differently. There's all this shit that's fundamentally going to be revealed in Modern Warfare 2 that's going to affect Warzone. But again, we talked about that. We'll have more on that next week. But in terms of some bug fixes in this patch note, they fixed an issue that was causing unintended delays following certain actions while using the brand new M4 Blixen SMG. And I know that was, we talked about like the sprinting seemed to be affected, but I'm still experiencing that across the board, like early game. I don't know what's going on. Have you been feeling this weird like issue with tactical sprint?
Yeah. There is like some weird glitch thing happening. I totally know what you're talking about. It's not happening all the time, but it's every now and then. So I do know what you're talking about. Yeah, and it's kind of it hasn't cost me anything yet, but it's just like it's like really like what's the word I'm looking for? It's just like really bizarre.
A nuisance?
You know, a nuisance. Yeah, but also more like just like you feel like you're having like an acid flashback or something. It's bizarre.
I mean, it's definitely been affecting me, and it's been debilitating at times. Like, you're trying to run from a situation, it's this weird like stutter fucking thing, and it just kind of made me think about how this whole slide canceling thing is kind of dumb, which we visited. Like, why not just make tactical sprint longer? I don't know, to have infinite moving ability, and then like something like this, it makes you realize, I think I don't know, that's too much of a can of worms. But that said, please, I hope they fucking fix this. It's clearly not related to just the Blixen. If you're out there, as
You love that Blixen, don't you?
oh, I hate that fucking gun, dude. I feel like I didn't realize, but there's two versions you could pick up, like a semi-auto or a burst fire and a regular. I thought you could switch between the two. Maybe you can, but I was in such a heat of the moment, I can't figure that out. But either way, it seems like every time I pick it up, I think I have the fully auto one. Then I get into the gunfight and I hold the trigger and I'm just like, brrr, and then I'm dead.
I've heard you have a couple of painful outcries from that over the last week. It's funny.
Fucking hate it, but if you're out there and you want it, I've heard from the community that actually the pregame lobby does count. So they said, drop in a rebirth wherever, do your slide kills, get 3 of them in that pregame lobby. That will count as one of your unlocks. But in terms of weapons, there was 3 adjustments made, 3 little tunes. And one we saw, like when I first read, they've nerfed the STG. But when you read a little closer, you realize all they did was reduce the maximum damage range from 30.1 down to 27.9. That's just the maximum damage range. That means when a player goes beyond, 28 meters, their damage they take is lower, which whatever. But it seems like the STG is still very much meta, a very negligible kind of nerf there, so that the long-range AR space still feels like it's dominated by the STG, although, I saw from Warzone Loadout there, like, it does make the other ones still a little bit closer. But I know you're still in the Cooper. You ever go back to the STG, or where you at?
No, I haven't yet. I don't like I don't know. It's just not my kind of weapon. I mean, it's not a bad weapon. I'm not going to talk shit on the STG. It's great, but I really like the Cooper. And I just can't imagine leaving it for the STG right now.
Yeah, and I tried. I mentioned last week, that Warzone Loadout was saying the Vargo was like second to top tier meta. I tried that, but with like the 45 round mag, there's still much noticeable recoil. The STG is just no reason, I guess, other the Cooper has like 0 recoil too, but there's no real reason to run much else these days. So I do hope they shake that up. But that said, the NZ41 got some mixture of kind of nerfs and buffs, and I've heard that actually in terms of TTK can rival the STG. I know streamers and gun builders like True Game Data really loving the NZ. I think they fixed the recoil pattern, not sure on that, but it sounds like the NZ41, it packs a wallop. And I know the ground loot ones, I'm making an effort to pick them up, and it's kind of got a slower fire rate, but it's a satisfying gun. What do you think about that guy?
Yeah, I don't discourage against it when I'm finding it on the ground and it's a good build. You find a gold one of those, I'll use that all day long.
Yep. And then in terms of the aforementioned H4 Blixen, that also got a very slight nerf. And as we've said, like, the Warzone Loadout folks been saying the same, singing the praises, and they tweeted out how the space of SNGs is so balanced. And actually a senior game designer from Raven responded and had some interesting info. He said, the team is working hard to try and replicate this balance across other classes, along with making underrepresented weapons viable. Example, we want to bring more identity and viability to LMGs. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great thought. LMGs are kind of like nowhere to be seen right now, and so are sniper rifles, marksman rifles. Like, there's a couple of classes of weapons that are like completely out of the loop. So yeah, it'd be great if like there was some kind of viability, but it's one thing to have like a balanced class, like SMG's balanced AR class, but it's a different thing to have like the class is balanced as well, which I think is more of the concern at the moment.
Yeah, I think, in Torm, that's an interesting point. Like, there's balance within a class, but there's also balance among classes, because like you would kind of consider the long range classes are LMGs and AR, and the short range classes are SMGs and shotguns. And I think in terms of like within the SMG space specifically, it's balanced. The AR space is close. it's weird because like if the STG were to just kind of get nerfed down a bit, it'd be really interesting space, I think. But that said, there's zero balance right now between LMGs and ARs in terms of like competing for their place in the long range. So I think it's really cool that they acknowledge this and that they're like working towards it. But my question remains is how are they going to do that? But I think the bar is kind of a good example of like how LMG should be functioning. Like the bar does a shitload of damage, but it has such a slow fire rate that you kind of got to hit your shots. It's unforgiving. So I think like to me, that's like the route that they could maybe take. But
And it's heavy and it's hard to move and the ADS is slow. Yeah.
But like, what do you think essentially, you know, in terms of your vision of like how they could do what they said to make underrepresented weapons viable or bring more identity and viability to LMG specifically? Because I know you're like the LMG kind of guy at heart.
Well, yeah, I think that so there's the two questions which you outlined. There's the balance within the class and there's the balance amongst classes. And I think the more important point is the balance amongst classes. Exactly. Because like there are, I think 4, let's just say it, shotguns, LMGs, sniper rifles, marksman rifles. Shit, let's throw rocket launchers in there too. There's 5 classes there that are basically unviable right now. And they don't compete with the SMGs and ARs. Like I would say like 90% of people in their overkill loadout are running an SMG and an AR right now, right? Like, and then there's the other stuff is fringe. So like it shouldn't be like that. And yeah, I think it's more important to get those. Like there should be an LMG that you have to think about your playing style and how you want to play that makes you think, do I want the STG or do I want the Bruin, or do I want, any of the STG or LMGs? You see what I'm saying? And that's just not the case now, unfortunately. And shotguns, it should be like, wow, that Cold War MP5 is sick, but have you tried the Gallo lately? The Gallo's really good. It's kind of like, it doesn't like shoot quite as far, but like up close, you can shred people. Like those conversations aren't even happening because there's just certain classes that are not even, considerable.
Well, maybe I'm, getting a little too deep and reading too much into it or trying to be too poetic here, but it's honestly like what you described, I think would be ideal, which is you find the weapon that fits your play style and you can excel just as much as another player who plays completely different with a completely different set of weapons. But I think the way Warzone is built now is the opposite, is you, the player, have to craft your play style to whatever they decide like the best weapons are. So like if the shotguns become meta, you just kind of got to adapt to playing like that. And if you're not good in that meta, you just get shit on. Whereas it would be cool if it was a situation where like, yeah, I'm more of a slow kind of holding down an area kind of guy engaged from a distance. I could run the fucking PKM or, I guess I've been hearing a lot about the RPDs ripping it. And like I can shred, whereas another guy who's like, Pole, let's say, run and gunner crazy, can run like the MP5 and like a short range AR and just dominate that short range space. Like I think to me, that's the ideal. That's the paradise we could maybe one day, utopia exist in on Warzone. But at least they're acknowledging it and hopefully working towards that. But, they've shown it can be done, I think, with the SMG space. Very kind of defined, people running different SMGs and engaging different things. But that's kind of my take on the whole meta.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. It's idealistic. I wish that's where it goes.
Well, there's always hope when a new release is on the horizon. Part of the reason I'm getting so hyped for this, it's kind of like, theory yet now, and then we'll be grounded in reality. We'll see. But that said, another thing we didn't even get to last week, but it didn't go live till this week, so it works out, is a brand new game mode introduced, which is called Champion of Caldera. And the way it works is it is a solos only game mode. And instead of having circle timers, the circle continuously closes. It features 150 players maximum, single continuously closing circle, and a battle royale style fight for survival. All operators drop in with their custom loadout, a gas mask, and a single redeploy extraction token. The item pool is slightly altered to emphasize equipment not normally found in loadouts and epic to legendary rarity weapons. Collect cash and visit an upgraded buy station, which features the advanced UAV, explosive bow, and even the specialist bonus for a hefty fee. Most notably, kills in this game mode immediately refill your health, a la, it sounds like quick fix, or maybe it's even instant. Equipment and ammo, and they refresh your equipment and ammo, incentivizing would-be champions to play aggressively and eliminate the competition directly to have the best chance at victory.
I think the only thing that was interesting to me there, I mean, it sounds like a fun game mode. I haven't played it yet, but the continuous gas movement is kind of something I've never thought about, and it's kind of fascinating. Like, I'm trying to think if there are other BR. I mean, I don't know. I'm wondering if there's other BRs out there that are like that, where it's just like a slow move and it never stops. You know, that like eliminates so much tight, like camping and like it. I mean, that's to me, I think really interesting. I kind of want to check that out. What do you think about that?
I agree with you. I think that mechanic, like, they should explore that more, and you could play with it too. Whereas maybe it's not just a circle that, like, oh, it's closing directly towards, the center. Maybe it starts to kind of like rotate, so people can't, as you said, camp, or it's kind of unpredictable. You think, oh, I'm inside, but then, oh, the circle's moving just towards me. It's kind of shifting across the map, so to speak. I'm curious to try this out. I didn't have any chance really to run solos this week, so I haven't, but I'm definitely going to give it a try. Loving the Rebirth solos, so I'm curious to see if this can kind of spice up Caldera solos. I did see there was a poll by one of the Warzone accounts that got a ton of votes, and it wasn't overwhelming, but the majority of folks are saying they like this over standard solos.
Yeah, I bet it's interesting too. You know, it's just different than normal solos, which I'm sure because solos can get boring. You know, like they're long and kind of boring games. You know, I don't prefer playing solos, especially on the big map. That's probably my least favorite game mode. So anything they can do to make that interesting and spice it up, I think is a great move.
Yeah, I think, Caldera Solos is, I would call it the cheesiest of all game modes right now. And that's because it's attracting, I think, the most fucking rats. You play that game and you play with some real dirty little rat fink players. So I like this. It's going to force people's hand to be more aggressive, reward those that are. But that's kind of it for the state of Warzone, where we're at. As is usual lately, we've been getting a lot of leaks. Like to cover those towards the end of our show. Potentials on where we're going. And I know a few weeks back, we took a huge dive into a bunch of leaks about Warzone 2 and Modern Warfare 2. The most of them, I think we went through 5 editions, and we were both kind of like, I don't really like that. I'm not feeling that. Well, there's some potential, maybe good news that was a caveat that I had missed alongside those leaks, which is they're predicting that alongside Warzone 2, or even, just with Modern Warfare 2, is there's going to be a separate game mode, Battle Royale mode, called DMZ, Demilitarized Zone. And essentially, it's a take on like Escape from Tarkov. And I guess Battlefield 2042 tried to do it, or they're calling it Hazard Zone, but it's kind of like a way more hardcore, purist BR experience where you must infiltrate an area to loot, complete objectives, and then you avoid or battle other players and extract. That's the ultimate goal, is to extract. It's not like a kill last man standing situation. And so that is supposed to be way more tactical, way more about looting. And that is, the theory is, all these additions we talked about, like the new armor satchels, the bags, those might not be in Warzone 2 specifically. Those might be purely for this DMZ mode. What are your thoughts on this new?
Interesting. Yeah, what does extraction mean? Like you have to call in a helicopter and just get out of there, and that's how you win?
Yeah, like you kind of complete a bunch of objectives, get to a certain spot, and then you kind of complete it. Boom, you've won. You're out of there. I should have probably watched some fucking Escape from Tarkov or familiarized myself, but it sounds like that's kind of how that works as well. So you can win essentially without encountering any players.
That sounds like it's right in our wheelhouse, actually.
Stay away. We will hide. Let's play DMZ. Let's hide from all the players, collect some loot, and get in the fucking helicopter and get out of here.
Sounds good to me.
But yeah, do you feel like a little better, or were you actually coming around to the idea of those additions we talked about potentially coming to Warzone? Like, what are your...
Honestly, it was also overwhelming. I didn't even consider it or take it seriously. It's been so overwhelming, all those crazy changes. I think it makes sense that it's going to be in this kind of like alternative game mode. Totally makes sense. You know, especially if it's tactical and it's less like combat driven. Yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah, I think this is cool. I mean, again, I like new options. This could maybe fulfill like the more hardcore BR player. I don't know, but intrigued to say the least. I hope those new additions are purely for this because, again, I don't think they really serve Warzone, at least in the way it exists now. But finally, in terms of the future of Warzone, in terms of familiarity and looking forward, we got to acknowledge the fact that, like, when Warzone 2 comes, we could be saying goodbye to our beloved Rebirth Island. But with some hope on the horizon, another rumor came out this week that Warzone, they're working on a second Warzone 2 map that'll be similar in size to Rebirth Island.
I mean, I kind of almost started tearing up there when you said we might lose Rebirth, which we probably will. I didn't really consider that. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, I mean, it's a lot of people to impress with their next Rebirth map. You know, I'm not sure the expectation is going to be pretty high. So hopefully they do pretty good. But that's a tall order to match.
Yeah, the bar is set high for what they've created with Rebirth. It's pretty clear playing, like, that's where the game's at. I mean, we heard even from some of our friends, Scared of Clowns, theorizing that part of the reason they reduced the player count wasn't to improve pacing on Caldera, it was actually because the player base is so, depleted. Like, you queue up matchmaking on Caldera, and I gotta assume it's from the player base. It takes so fucking long, whereas you pop on Rebirth, you're in the game fast. And again, it's a smaller lobby to fill, so it is not apples to apples, but they got some magic going, and they're gonna need to catch that in a jar and unleash it in Warzone 2, and hopefully this new map can be just as cool. I mean, part of me is like, maybe they just redo Rebirth a little bit, and I'll be fine with that. But the other part is like, obviously, we can't hold on to the past forever. We must embrace the future.
Yes. Embrace the future. I fear change, though.
It is such a delicate balance. The world in which we live, the war zone in which we take part, about new and old and colliding, and that's exactly what's going to be happening here with Modern Warfare 2 and the future of Warzone. We've had a lot of listeners reach out about, we make a lot of promises. We say, hey, we're going to do more custom games. We're going to do this live Q&A. Well, full disclosure, we're in a transitional period here, the old Tron and Cowboy, trying to find some stability, but I assure you that stability is coming soon. I think the latter part of 2023, we're really going to anchor down. We actually just now getting some more, I can't dive into it, but let's just say we have now some more stable, regular advertising coming to you on the podcast, which is going to support our efforts. So we want to lock in some future events coming down this summer. And obviously, as Warzone 2 comes along, we want to ramp it up. We want to get things going. That's at least my take. I'm just putting this live. I'm making this commitment now. Cowboy, are you with me?
Yes, I am definitely with you. It has been tough. The old Cowboy and Cowgirl have been, we did a winter in the mountains, so we were kind of like vagabonds for a little bit, and just getting the podcast, at the high levels that we expect was kind of challenging in the mountains. But now we're back in the hometown, moving into a new house soon. I'm going to set up a whole studio. Shit, I might even start streaming on camera, baby. Who knows what's going to happen? But yes, big things coming, and I'm with you. Verbal commitment on the air. Boom.
That's right. The Cowboy and Lady Cowboy seeking greener pastures, settling down.
It's not Lady Cowboy, it's the Cowgirl.
The Cowgirl, of some varying length.
The Lady Cowboy? Who says the Lady Cowboy?
I don't know, man. This is an official moniker, so I kind of riffing. But yeah, seeking greener pastures, settling down at the homestead, gonna get the dedicated streaming area. Your boy Tron, a bit more settled now. Excited for what I had a blast at the last custom game, so that's going to be coming. Excited to kind of talk with our listeners, get the live call-ins, so stay tuned. We love you all. That's going to do it for us this week, though, on the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast. As always, not as always, but as is what's going on right now. There's so much to look forward to. Each week, bringing new news, new information, and again, one day closer to what's going to be happening here. Got to be excited. I am hyped, the Tronster.
Oh, you're torqued over there. I'm pretty torqued myself.
Well, that does it now, and we will talk to you all next week here on the Warzone Amateur Hour. But until then,
Good luck in the gulag.